So let's talk about how prescription is showing up in the everyday lives of today's students, okay? So think with me, 2 decades into the 21st century where we are today, here is a snapshot of an average kid's life. First of all, parents are prescriptive in their leadership, aren't they? Scheduling each day. In fact, I've met many parents who keep calendars for their kids, many parents who are laying out clothes for their kids before school. We even met one mom who picks up Starbucks every single afternoon and brings it to her kids as she picks them up from school. We have planned out their entire lives, and we're the ones who are acting as their assistants, aren't we? On top of that, we've got teachers. Teachers are forced, really, to be prescriptive in their lesson plans because they've got to teach for the test. They're trying to get the students ready for the test, so they feel forced almost to plan out each lesson and think through each step. The same thing is happening with athletic coaches who are prescriptive in their instruction for practices and games. Every single day, every single practice, the coach is thinking about what do we need to do next. In fact, I saw a cartoon just a couple of years ago of a coach who's in the locker room with his athletes right before they go out for the game. The X's and O's are behind him on the whiteboard, and he says, "This is your team, this is your time, this is your game. Now go out and do exactly what I told you." You see the conundrum there. We want them to take ownership, but often we're the ones who are stepping in. But this doesn't just happen with our leadership, it also happens with the outside world as well. Think about this, YouTube and Netflix are prescriptive, aren't they? Suggesting what video you might want to watch next. In fact, if you don't click away in 5 seconds, you are stuck watching whatever it is that's just come out because we don't often have the discipline to turn away. But think about how this also shows up in some other areas. Amazon is prescriptive, aren't they? Suggesting other products you might like to buy. Oh, you bought this, you're probably going to really love this. This also happens with employers. Lots of students think, I'll graduate and life will finally be mine. I'll get to make my own decisions. And they arrive at their job and the employers are prescriptive, telling them exactly what to do. Here's the script to follow on the phone call in order to meet the numbers that we need. And then finally, social media apps are prescriptive in general, all designed to keep you watching, keep you scrolling, all of those different things. In fact, it was just a few years ago in 2015 that YouTube hit a goal that they had been trying to reach for many years. And that goal was 1 billion hours watched per day, which is a massive accomplishment. It happened many, many years ago. And when they looked back over how they got there, it was a lot of small incremental changes, but one of the biggest ones was an adjustment to their algorithm so they could suggest the absolute most perfect video so that when you click that video and think, I just want to watch this one video, you actually end up watching 10 because they've gotten so good at suggesting what to watch next. If I'm a kid growing up in this 21st century world where the adults in my life and the world around me is constantly prescribing, do this, don't do this, follow this, buy this, it can begin to feel like my life is out of my own hands, and that's exactly what we see with today's generation. So how do we solve this? I believe the solution is simple, but also difficult to implement. Today's generation needs descriptive leadership that utilizes the power of metacognition, a word I know you've heard before, to put their lives back into their own hands. So when I use this term descriptive leadership, what do I mean? Well, I want to talk to you about our typical leadership style versus the leadership style I think today's students really need. Quite naturally, I think, in our world, as we lead these kids, we often find ourselves leading in more of a prescriptive leadership style. And by the way, this is incredibly logical. Like, I know how we arrived here is because we're the experts, we're the ones with experience, and so we make a suggestion, right? This is prescriptive leadership is where you meet with the student and you set a goal, right? Here's where we want to be at the end of the semester, or here's the skill I want to build in you. And then because we're the knowledgeable ones, we also furnish the precise steps that learners should take in order to achieve that goal or reach that goal. So every single one of the kids we're leading are hearing us kind of not only prescribing the goal, but also saying, do this, do this, do this, do this. Here's what we're going to do on Tuesday. Here's Wednesday. Here's Thursday. We've planned it all out for them. Well, you can see the problem here. Even though this makes logical sense as to why we do this, this takes the feeling of ownership out of those kids' hands, and they feel once again like another part of their world is just telling them what to do. Which is why increasingly, this is not every kid is ready for this. You know, your 5-year-olds probably need a whole lot of prescriptive leadership. But increasingly, as students get older, I believe they need what I would call descriptive leadership. This is where we meet with the learner to describe the goal. And here, get this, same goal. We're not lowering our standards. In fact, in many ways, we're raising our standards, because after we describe that same goal, that competency we want them to accomplish or that thing we want them to get to, we then allow him or her to almost come up with their own steps to achieve that goal. And we're shifting our perspective. We're no longer the commander, we're now the consultant. We're stepping into the role of Yoda, right? Not Luke Skywalker. We're asking them to take the reins, to have leadership and ownership over their own education, over their own life. And increasingly as we do this, even in little ways, what we're doing is we're teaching them to start taking the reins, to start having ownership. And in that way, I think they're going to be more ready for life, more ready for all the things that are coming at them. So how do you do this? I want to think really practically about how to do this. I want to give you an acronym that we use at Growing Leaders. We simply call this proven leadership.